Hello, everyone, and welcome to Managing Jira Project Certification, Why You Should Care, and How to Prepare. My name is Jimmy Seddon, and I will be walking you through this presentation. For starters, let me just give you a bit of background about myself. I have been an Atlassian admin for about 10 years at a couple of different companies. I started with a Jira server environment, also with a Bitbucket server. I successfully migrated that from Jira Server to Jira Cloud. And at my current company, I am managing the Atlassian tools for all of the R&D teams, and we are currently using Jira Software, Jira Service Management, and Confluence Cloud Premium. I currently hold 6 certifications myself, as well as 1 Pro Skill badge, and the Atlassian Certified Expert standing, and I've been an active community leader for about 3 years now. Okay, next I want to talk about who the target audience is for this presentation. And I'm going to start with a little bit of a scenario based on real-world experiences that I have seen with friends. So you are a project manager who has been tasked with the administration of Jira. You may have an IT administrator who manages the actual infrastructure or paying for your cloud site, but you have been tasked with the workflow configuration, the users and permissioning of the Jira projects that your teams are using on a day-to-day basis. And what you're looking to do is make sure that you're using the best practices, or you're wanting to learn more about the features that are in Jira, or maybe you're just looking for validation that what you're doing is the right way to configure things. You are the target audience for this because I feel as though preparing for this certification is definitely going to help you become a better administrator. In addition to that, anyone who's thinking about writing the Managing Project certification, whether it's the cloud or the data center one, you will absolutely find this presentation helpful, as it's going to help you give you some of the tips and tricks for preparing for this. And then anyone else who's interested in learning more about Jira projects, their features, best practices, how to configure them, users and permissions, you're going to find something interesting and also useful out of this presentation. Okay, so why should you care about this certification? The number one factor for me, and I know that I am a Jira administrator, but in people that I've spoken to, imposter syndrome definitely plays a part in it. Making sure that you yourself are comfortable with being able to say that the decisions you are making when it comes to workflow configurations, when it comes to user group permission management, and the overall support that you're providing to the users when it comes to their questions on how things are set up, whether it's custom fields that you're adding or the advice that you're giving them on how to search for information. Being able to prove to yourself that the information you are giving them is valid and accurate and falls in line with Atlassian's best practices is definitely reason number one for me for wanting to take this certification itself. Number 2, you might be looking to earn an Atlassian certification just because it's one of those career progression types of things that you want. The Atlassian University team has said it many, many times that having an Atlassian certification on your resume and your LinkedIn profile can definitely help set you apart from the pack when it comes to applying for a position that either is directly related to Atlassian, or maybe Atlassian products are a part of your role. Showing that you are certified in Jira Project Management definitely gives you an advantage over other people. And lastly, you might be interested in learning more about the Atlassian products. And to be honest, preparing for the certification exams is definitely one way to learn more about all the features that are covered as a part of the exam, all of the best practices, and teaching yourself more about the products that you might not be using today, but could definitely make better use of in the future. And then in addition to that, I'd like to just pull a quote from a good friend of mine, Rodney, Nissan, the Jira guy. I was attending JiraCon 21 last November, and on a panel when I asked a question about the why you should get certified, I loved his answer, and I wanted to just put this quote out there that one of the things he wanted to try and express was it's not writing the exam itself that will make you a better admin, but what you learn as you prepare that is going to make you better. But since you've done all the work to prepare for that exam, you might as well get credit for the hard work that you've put into preparing for it. And I thought that that was a great way of describing the why you should consider getting certified, that you'll make yourself better in the process of preparing for it. And then, that rite of passage of just earning that certification after you've put in the hard work. Okay, so now that we've talked about who should be taking this and why you should be doing this, how do you get started? So I've got the 2 links up there that will take you to the certification page on the university website for both the cloud and the data center versions of the certification. And what you're going to see is something that's going to look, I've tried to pull a bit of a screen capture that shows some of the things that you'll see on the page. This is the great aggregated start of just everything that you need to know about preparing for the certification, what courses are available, both paid and free courses, the exam topic listing, information about the exam as far as the cost, the time limit you have to write it, what the passing score is, approximately how many questions are on the exam, and then more resources as far as other things that you can use besides the university to prepare for writing the exam. And then closer to the bottom of the page, you will see information that relates to how you should go about scheduling your exam. Once you've had a chance to look over the certification page and you're comfortable with the exam topics, or you have an idea of where you want to start, the next thing you'll want to probably do is head over to the certification bundle page. The link is at the bottom here. That's going to give you access to the on-demand certification prep course training, which I would say is a good refresher course. So you want to be comfortable with the topics on the exam topic list before I would say you want to just dive right in. This certification prep course is not going to teach you everything that you need to know for the exam, but it is definitely a good refresher on reminding you of all the topics and helping them become sort of front of mind so that you'll be able to recall the information without having to search for it while you're writing the exam. The other thing that you're going to get as a part of this exam, this certification bundle, is a voucher to take the exam. And this overall course, I believe, is about $100 US. So having the on-demand course as well as the certification all for $100 is a really good price. And that would be my absolute recommendation on where you should start. So once again, I've tried to grab just a little bit from the actual certification page itself, so you will see the overall course cost there, a little bit of a primer video about what you're going to learn through this, and then a bit of information about the bundles itself as it relates to both the cloud and the data center versions of this. Okay, so now that you have gone through the certification page and you've reviewed the certification prep bundle, where should you be going next? If you have looked at the exam topic list and you're very comfortable with everything that's listed there, I would start on the certification page itself and review the certification prep course itself, the on-demand one. Go through the exam topic list and use the free skill builders as well as the Jira documentation to review everything that's listed there. And as a note on that subject, when you're reviewing the exam topic list, and this is an example of it, you'll want to pay attention to the weights on the exam that are given to the various topics. What you're going to want to pay attention to here is the fact that if you look at something like board configurations and managing projects, combined, they are going to make up somewhere in the neighborhood of between 50 and 70% of the total exam, whereas project creation is only about 10 to 15%. So based on this, you know that the bulk of what you're going to be tested on is going to be covered under anything within the board configurations or managing projects themselves. So if you are extremely comfortable with those, but you're not as comfortable with project creation, you might want to spend some time on project creation. Conversely, if you are not as comfortable about board configurations, but you are extremely comfortable about managing projects, and you're somewhat comfortable about project creation, you might want to spend more time on learning more about board configurations, since you're going to be asked more about them as a part of the exam. Now, if you've gone through this exam topic list and you're immediately a little nervous about your understanding of those topics, there are two things that I would recommend. Number one, you're going to have access to some sample questions. You're going to get some sample questions that are available on the certification page itself, somewhere near the middle to the bottom area. And you're also going to have access to some sample questions as a part of the certification bundle that you may purchase. I would recommend trying those, and I would even recommend trying them immediately before you even do anything else, just to get yourself a baseline of where your knowledge is. These sample questions will also give you some insight into the way in which the questions are going to be structured on the exam that you're going to write. So good news for any of you who love multiple choice. The questions you are going to get are always going to be multiple choice questions. You never have to worry about needing to fill in any sort of a writing an exam about an exam question or an essay style question on something. You are going to have to pick the most correct choices based on the information that is provided to you in the question. So if you take those sample questions immediately, how you do as a result, I think will give you a good indication of how prepared you are to go ahead and write that exam up front. If you don't do very well on those, don't worry about it. I have had many of those sorts of situations myself. All it means is you're going to have to do a fair bit of extra preparation in order to prepare for the exam. I would start at that point by considering the paid university courses on project administration. I would absolutely do all of the skill builder courses. They're free. You might as well take advantage of the free courses that are available to you. And you might also want to take a look at the documentation. There are links to the documentation on the certification sort of aggregated page itself. So go to the documentation, read up on some of the things that are in the exam topic list, and then if you're taking cloud, spin up a free cloud instance for yourself and try out some of these things on your own. If you're doing the data center version, if you are able to set up a test instance, try and do so. Otherwise, see if it's something feasible within your company to set up a test project within your production instance, and try and do everything in a segregated manner so that you won't affect any of your production projects. But try to give yourself a testing ground so that you can actually physically go through and try out some of these things, because I feel as though actually doing something will give you the best experience as far as helping you remember it, and give you the best experience as far as being able to choose the most correct answers on the exams. Okay, so at this point, you have prepared for the exam by doing a whole bunch of study, following the certification page. You've taken the certification prep course, you have gone through those sample questions, and you are fully prepared to write that exam. Or maybe you did what I normally do, and I actually schedule the exam ahead of doing any of the preparation, because I'm a procrastinator, and without a hard deadline, I am not going to put the amount of effort I need to into preparing for the exam unless my money's on the table. So these are your two options. You can do a bunch of the preparation ahead of time and then look at scheduling the exam. Or if you think you're going to be more like myself, what you're going to want to do is read the exam topics, see how comfortable you think you are. I would take the free sample questions that are on the certification aggregated page itself and see how well you do as a score out of that. If you did quite well, you probably don't need as much time to prepare, and you might want to schedule the exam within a couple of weeks. The other side of that you're going to need to account for is how much time you have to study while also doing your day job and any other life commitments that you have outside of work. I personally was able to devote about 2 hours every single night. So I scheduled the exam out 2 weeks in advance, which gave me 2 hours per night. And that even included a little extra than 2 hours on the weekends. If you don't have the flexibility to make that happen, you might want to push the exam date out a little bit further, because you don't want to force yourself into a situation where you don't have enough time to prepare in order to write the exam. Okay, now I wanted to talk a little bit about the actual exam part itself. So you will see the certification portal link at the bottom of the certification page, and you will have two options when you're choosing how you want to write your exam. You can go to an in-person training center, and I should point out that you'll want to check where a close center is to you. I cannot guarantee that there will be one in a convenient location for you. I know the closest one for me is about an hour away, which is not ideal. But when you do use a testing center, you will go to the testing center. The people there will give you the instructions on, where to store your wallet and your phone and things. They generally give you a locker with a key, and you're not allowed to bring anything to your testing location itself. They will set you at a desk that generally has a couple of cameras watching you. You will have sort of a single monitor, a mouse, and a keyboard, and they will log you in to start your exam, and then they will tell you when you're allowed to proceed with it. You will follow the on-screen prompts, and when you have finished submitting your exam, the person who is proctoring the exam will come and get you and take you out of the exam room and allow you to go and retrieve your things before you head home. The other option is what's known as online proctoring, and Atlassian uses a service called PSI, and they will watch you through a webcam that you will have set up at home and a microphone to make sure that they can hear you and see you while you're writing the exam. All of this is just to try and ensure that you aren't going to be cheating as a part of this. What you're going to want to make sure, though, is to read the PSI website, and just to give you an idea of, the information that is shown on the exam page itself. They're going to require that you are in a separate space with a door that can be closed, as clean as possible, so that you are in an environment that is easy to see that you don't have any equipment that you are trying to either record or to cheat in any manner. Obviously, we like to think that most people are doing the right things, but they obviously have to take the precautions that people aren't always going to do the right things. So you're going to want to make sure that you can close the door in the room, and you'll want to make sure that no one is going to interrupt you. That's, spouse, significant others, roommates, pets, children, during the time that you're writing the exam. You will fail if you are interrupted for obvious reasons. The other thing you're going to need to make sure of is that your workstation is a fairly clean environment. And by clean, I mean they don't want anything on the desk except for a single monitor, the webcam if it is attached to the monitor, or if you're using a laptop, then just the laptop itself with the internal camera. You are allowed a keyboard and a mouse. And for anyone who is not an English speaker, you are allowed a single standard Oxford English dictionary for translations of things, for identifying the words that are being used. But you're not allowed to have anything else in the room or on your desk. And you're going to want to make sure that you are able to use the webcam that you have to show your entire room environment. As a part of checking in, they are going to ask you to scan around the room with your webcam, just so that they can ensure that you don't have anything set up in any way. They will even ask you to show the webcam underneath your desk, just to make sure that you don't have any papers or anything stored under there. They are also going to require government ID, and you'll want to make sure that the way your name is registered on your government ID matches the name that you have registered for the exam. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing, but as I mentioned that I go as Jimmy, You can't register as Jimmy if that's not what's on your official government ID, which it's not, because they will give you some issues as far as the check-in process on that. Once you have scheduled the exam and paid for it, you are allowed to start the exam process about 30 minutes ahead of your actual exam time. And you're going to want to make sure that you are logging in at that 30-minute mark, because you're going to need to install some software that puts you into a secure browser session so that it ensures nothing else is running on your machine that could potentially be trying to copy anything on the screen or any of the keystrokes that you're making. And you're going to want to log in at that half an hour mark, because this software is not always compatible with everything that you have running. So you're going to want to give yourself enough time to do all of that troubleshooting to make sure that you have your environment set up in a way that is ready for you to take the exam. Okay, and then finally, I just wanted to leave you with some last minute exam tips. These would be the things that I would give you as you are just about to walk in and write that exam yourself. The first one is don't panic and stay calm. I can tell you that I have written 6 exams and I am always super nervous as I'm getting ready to write them. And the first few questions, I am near a state of hyperventilation just because I'm extremely nervous, and I don't know why I'm so nervous, but I'm always in that state. Next, you want to take your time. I know that there's a time limit and you can see it in the top corner, but after all of the exams I have written, you have more than enough time to answer all of the questions and then take some time to review them afterwards. And I still haven't even come close to using up all the time that I have required, or that has been allotted to me. You're going to want to read every single question very carefully. And the reason for this is the way that Atlassian structures the questions. They will give you all of the information that you need to give the most correct answer to that question. What you're going to want to make sure of is that you're not making any assumptions based on what information they have provided. So if they do not tell you that someone has the project administrator permission, don't assume that they have the project administrator permission. And that is going to be the one tip I would give you as far as reading it, that be sure to be careful in reading the information and don't make any assumptions, and you are going to do perfectly fine. The last piece of advice I will give is you have the ability to flag a question. And flagging a question just makes it much easier for you to come back to it at the end and review your answers. Flag every question that you are not sure of. I know when I write those exams, I am usually front heavy on flagging the questions, because it usually takes me about the first 20 or so questions to get into a good groove of feeling confident in the way in which I'm answering things. So I am flagging a lot of the early questions just because I'm still nervous from getting checked in, and I'm nervous because I want to do well on the exam, and I don't know if I have done enough study, and I get in my own head. So flag all of those questions. It may seem like a lot at first, but I promise you, it's not. It's just nerves, and you're going to get over it. At the same time, I always have benefited from flagging them, because when I'm reviewing them, after I've calmed down and I've gotten myself in my groove for writing that exam, I have gone back and looked at some of my answers and realized that I have had some incorrect answers, and I've had the opportunity to then change them. If you have done the preparation that I have recommended earlier in this, and you follow the tips that are here for the scheduling of the exam, the setting up for the exam, and these last minute tips, I know that you're going to do well, and I wish you all the luck if you choose to go through with this exam and earn this certification. And I'd like to thank everyone who has stuck with me through this session. I hope this has inspired you to consider taking the Managing Projects certification, either for cloud or for data center. And I hope you enjoy the rest of PM72.